welcome to Maintenance Mondays. We're gonna show you guys how we fix stuff and clean stuff and the amount of fixing and cleaning that we do.
It's a sailboat, something breaks every day pretty much. Today, I'm replacing my main inverter that went out. It's a 1500 watt inverter. I really never even need 1500 watts, but why not replace it with the same thing? You never know. So that'll be today. Anybody that's done any work or been on a sailboat knows that one of the hardest aspects of working on a boat is getting access to stuff. One cool feature is though the inverter is way up here, the previous owner put like a remote head unit for the plugs and the power switch and all that, so I'll show you that. See, so this is the remote here. I've already taken that off or lowered that. And then up in there is the actual inverter that has stopped working. Okay, well, access to my main battery bank is through here. It's underneath that little platform right there. But in order to get into there, I got to pull all this stuff out of there. For safety, your first step should be turn off all the AC and DC power, and then find the cable that leads to the inverter and disconnect that from the battery. You can see here it's a nice heavy gauge cable, but the problem is they never installed a breaker or a fuse in line. This is the fuse for the solar array, so the inverter really should have one in line for safety. Something breaks on the boat daily. Here I broke a tripod already today. Getting access to certain things on the boat really can be a hassle. Well, part of my problem is 3 of the screws that held it in were just wood screws that held it into the bulkhead there. The other one's got a nut on it, and I don't have a third arm that's like 8 feet long, so, and I don't have locking clamp. I don't even know what you call them, vice grips with a clamp, I don't even know. So zip tie, pliers, boom, I'll make one so that way I can turn the screw on the other end. This actually ended up working pretty well, made it really easy. Yeah. Did I mention getting access to this stuff can be quite a pain? Well, that was pretty difficult to get out of there, but it's a contortion act. Well, we'll replace it. You can see here whoever installed the inverter previously made a custom faceplate for mounting and used the old faceplate as a remote head unit for the... When I removed the faceplate on the new inverter, I was a little bit disappointed by how short the wires were. So basically I'm just going to run an extension wire. I'm going to cut these wires and solder on new wires to run an extension up here. That way we get, you know, we don't have to reach way up in there to run the inverter. This is the old plate that was on here. I'm just going to reuse it because it's already got the wires that are long enough. Because if I use this, I just have to use new wiring, and then I have to use a new plate, and then I have to figure out a way to mount this. So I'm going to disconnect all these wires, reconnect them to these wires, then I can put this plate back on and mount it, and then this plate will go right back up there. Just something you got to make sure you get right is when you're connecting all these wires, make sure you're connecting it to the right place. You know, positive, positive, negative, negative, power switch to power switch. You don't want to mess that up, so the best way to do that is get some blue tape, something like that, and just write labels on each wire as you disconnect or reconnect them. Alright, I've got all of them labeled here. Like what I did is I labeled these to which color wire they need to connect onto the new inverter, because all the inverters use different colors. Because I've got to loop it all the way through here and then back into here, otherwise it gets a little confusing and it makes it easier to mount this up here. I went ahead and cut all the sheaths off the end of the wires in preparation for soldering. I don't have a flux brush, but just use a little finger, put some on there. Before I do this, I almost made a big mistake. I need to run the wires through here so that I can mount it. So I need to take this apart first. So now I run all the wires through here. The other way. Make sure you run it the right way, because this has to go into the unit. Okay, so let's solder some here without hurting anything, if I can. I'm not a professional solderer, never pretend to be, so I'm sure I'll get some bad comments on I'm doing it wrong. Whatever. It took me several attempts to get the first one soldered correctly, but once I got the hang of it, the rest of them went pretty easy. After I got all the wires connected, I let them cool off a little bit and then wrapped them in electrical tape just to keep them from shorting out on anything. Okay, I got all the wires soldered in there. I think I'll zip tie them inside so they don't pull out, and then put it all back together and see if it works. All right, so I went to the marine store. They didn't have, the manual requested a 200 amp circuit breaker, which seems excessive to me. I can't imagine ever using 200 amps on anything in here. I mean, we don't have a microwave or anything like that. It should handle all our needs. There was no circuit breaker before, which is dangerous. I mean, if that thing had shorted out and inside the internal mechanism fuse had not gone off or something, I mean, it could start a fire. So now we have extra protection. You can see here the right side of the circuit breaker goes to the inverter and the left side goes to the battery. It's a pretty easy task to trip and then reset the circuit breaker. It was a simple job to remount the head unit there and the inverter, and we're ready to go. Okay, moment of truth. I've got everything hooked back up together, everything's wired. I'm assuming correctly. All I gotta do is turn the circuit breaker on and see if she works. So here we go. There is the circuit breaker right back in here. Well, that's a good sign. The circuit breaker hasn't popped. Let me check the wires, make sure you're not getting hot. Nope, cables aren't getting hot or anything, so not too much power flowing through there. Let's turn it on. Okay, it made a noise, it came on, and we have power! Okay, thanks for watching Maintenance Monday with the Sailing Doodles. We're gonna try to do one of these every week on Mondays, just a little tip on how to get your boat ship shape.
Best day of the week?
Well, I don't know about that.
Depends.
Yeah.
Is there beer at the end?
There is beer at the end.
Best day of the week.
Okay. All right, thanks guys. So if you like it, please click subscribe and like. And if you really like it, go to sailingdoodles.com and become a patron. As soon as we get to 200 patrons, we're getting close, this mustache gets shaved off. So
It couldn't come soon enough.
that'll be the best day of the week for her.
Yeah, of the year.
Of the year. All right, thanks guys.